to taste is to feel the rest, because they are the best.
Hello and welcome to 6 Minute English. I'm Rob.
And I'm Finn. Hello, Rob.
Hi there, Finn. I have to say, you've got a lean and hungry look today.
Really? I'll take that as a compliment, shall I?
Yeah, please do. Do you want a donut?
Actually, yeah. Can I have two? So, what are we talking about today, Rob?
We're talking about skinny or very thin models and whether there should be a law banning them from working on the catwalk. And a catwalk is the long runway that models walk down at fashion shows.
Well, no danger from me there, Rob. I think I like eating a little bit too much.
And there's no danger of you becoming a model anyway, Finn, because you're not good looking enough, I'm afraid.
Oh, really? Okay, thank you, Rob. That's very nice of you.
You're welcome.
I think it's time for today's quiz question, please.
Okay, well, here goes. Which country banned the use of underweight models in 2013? Was it A, Israel, B, Canada, or C, the US?
You know what? I've got no idea, so I'll take a guess and say A, Israel.
Okay, well, we'll find out if that's the right answer later on.
Okay.
So, come on, Finn, what do you think? Are the models we see on the catwalk and in the media too skinny?
Well, yeah, I think some models do look fantastic, but others look painfully thin. Now, the media, by the way, refers to the different ways information is communicated to us. So, for example, through TV, radio, magazines, and often the internet and newspapers.
Okay, well, let's listen to Jamie Gavin, founder and managing director of media agency InPress, talking about a new French law being discussed preventing the use of underweight models. Can you spot a phrase that means a limit or an ending?
I think it's a BMI of 18 or less that is hopefully going to be banned by the French Assembly today. This is what the US Health Organization states as being kind of clinically unhealthy. So it's almost like a cut-off point. Yes, be thin. Yes, be thinner than the general population. But once it starts getting to unhealthy territory, really that's time to start banning it.
And the French Assembly did pass this law a few days later. Now, did you spot the phrase for a limit or an ending? It's cut-off point.
So models that are too thin will be banned or won't be allowed to work. And the cut-off point is a BMI of 18 or less.
Now, BMI stands for Body Mass Index, and this is the ratio of a person's height to their weight. And ratio means the relationship between two things, showing how big one thing is compared to another.
But what happens if you're just naturally really thin? The authorities could be accused of discrimination against skinny people, or treating some people less fairly than others.
That's right, it's a good point. And that's why the French authorities and those of some other countries are using BMI as a way of deciding. So models with a BMI of 18 or less weigh too little when compared to how tall they are.
And clinically unhealthy, well, what does that mean?
Well, it means you need medical treatment for a condition or illness.
Now, anorexia is an illness where a person refuses to eat in order to lose weight. But some models these days are so skinny they do look anorexic.
You're right. Let's hear more from Jamie Gavin, talking about protecting the health of models. Now, what phrase is used to mean the responsibility?
The theatrical agents and the modelling agents that have got a responsibility to look after their clients. There's a huge amount of pressure on both the agent and on the models themselves, and really the book lies with them in making sure that these people are healthy and that they're looking after their careers as well.
So the problem with the modelling industry is that the agents who employ the girls put pressure on or strongly persuade them to lose weight.
And in this way, they aren't taking care of their clients. They're actually putting them at risk. Now, why is that, Rob?
It's because many people in the fashion industry prefer very thin models, so it's a case of supply and demand. The agents are simply supplying the fashion industry with the type of girls they want.
Right. And what does the reporter mean when he says the buck lies with the agents?
When the buck lies or stops with someone, it means it's his or her responsibility, not someone else's. And agents who employed underweight models can face fines of up to €75,000 or even prison sentences.
Okay. Shall we hear the answer to today's quiz question?
Okay, well, I asked you which country banned the use of underweight models in 2013. Was it A, Israel, B, Canada, or C, the US?
I said A, Israel.
And you were right, Finn. Well
right,
done.
Okay.
Okay, now shall we listen to the words we learned today?
We heard skinny, catwalk, media, cut-off point, band, BMI, that's body mass index, ratio, discrimination, clinically, anorexia, put pressure on, supply and demand, and the buck stops with, or the buck lies with.
Thank you. Well, that brings us to the end of today's 6 Minute English. We hope you had a healthy interest in today's programme. Please join us again soon.
Donut?
Go on then. Bye.
Bye.
My photo taste is the Pinterest because they are the best. Link to flick, flick to link.
It's the TED Radio Hour from NPR. I'm Guy Raz. So you probably don't think about this too much, but data is everywhere.
Without even knowing it, we've sort of crept into this era where data all of a sudden is ambient. It's everywhere we go.
This is data analyst Susan Edlinger.
So as we walk around every single day, our locations are tracked. The apps that we use are being tracked. If you are on a website, anything that you do on that website is likely being tracked. If we walk by surveillance cameras, if we get in a car that has a GPS, you have any kind of medical device, run a red light, there's a camera. So data's everywhere.
Yeah.
Some people call this digital exhaust, the idea that you're sort of walking around and these sort of particles of data are surrounding you all the time.
Just coming out of you, yeah.
That's right, everywhere we go. And I don't think it's possible for any individual person to truly understand everything that they are creating at any given time.
And sure, we all kind of know this is going on, but increasingly, we don't have to understand it. As we'll explore this episode, technology is doing that for us.
So in 10 years, the amount of information that you will have of yourself will be uncomputable by a human being.
Which means we're learning more about our world.
These data will let us understand how we form
And beyond.
how our solar system formed, to understand our place in the universe.
But the trick is knowing the difference between a lot of data and too much information.
Data doesn't exist, okay? Information exists, and it's ephemeral. And when we capture it, it's data.
So this episode, ideas about big data, taking huge amounts of information and making sense of it.
What's great about it is when we think about the ability, for example, to sequence the human genome, or to look at the universe, or the ways in which we could use data to look at epidemics and the spread of disease, or even the spread of ideas, that can make a tremendous difference. And so I do think we have this wonderful kind of tool at our fingertips. We just have to be, I think, a little bit careful with it.
Susan Edlinger returns later to describe why exactly we need to be careful. But first, let's just say big data is like a super boring term, right? I don't even know if people are going to download this episode.
It is the most vibrant thing happening in the world today.
This is Kenneth Cukier. He's a senior editor at The Economist and co-author of the book Big Data, where he wrote about how all that data flying off of us all the time, that kind of digital exhaust, is changing the way we live.
If every aspect of living gets this shadow to it, this veneer of data, suddenly we can learn new things that we never could before. And I see it as part of this sort of timeless march that we've been on of improving our society by applying our reason to it and our technical skills to it.
And our technical skills, they're really the skills we're building into our computers to process huge amounts of data in a way the human brain never could. Kenneth explained all this on the TED stage.
So what is the value of big data? Well, think about it. You have more information. You can do things that you couldn't do before. One of the most impressive areas where this concept is taking place is in the area of machine learning. Okay, machine learning is a branch of artificial intelligence, which itself is a branch of computer science. The general idea is that instead of instructing a computer what to do, we're going to simply throw data at the problem and tell the computer to figure it out for itself. And it'll help you understand it by seeing its origins. Okay. In the 1950s, a computer scientist at IBM named Arthur Samuel liked to play checkers, so he wrote a computer program so he could play against the computer. He played, he won. He played, he won. Because the computer only knew what a legal move was. So he wrote a small subprogram alongside it, operated in the background, and all it did was score the probability that a given board configuration would likely lead to a winning board versus a losing board after every move. And then Arthur Samuel leaves the computer to play itself. It plays itself, it collects more data. It collects more data, it increases the accuracy of its prediction. And then Arthur Samuel goes back to the computer, and he plays it, and he loses. And he plays it, and he loses. And he plays it, and he loses. And Arthur Samuel has created a machine that it surpasses his ability in a task that he taught it. And this idea of machine learning is going everywhere. How do you think we have self-driving cars? We changed the nature of a problem from one in which we try to overtly and explicitly explain to the computer how to drive to one in which we say, here's a lot of data around the vehicle, you figure it out. You figure it out that that is a traffic light, that that traffic light is red and not green, that that means that you need to stop and not go forward. Big data is going to transform how we live, how we work, and how we think.
Okay, so like 50 years from now, what's something else that's going to improve our lives because of big data? Like, like something in our everyday routine.
So an example will be, I'll have a toilet, or I'll have a faucet that will be running water for me to wash my hands. When I do that, I'll probably have a sensor that will be taking a look at my cell follicles that come down, and it'll be analyzing my biochemistry. The toilet might turn out to be sort of the centerpiece of the home in terms of healthcare, because you could actually monitor a stool sample on a daily basis. If we did it every day, we might learn something about the progression of disease that we didn't know before. And so where today that information doesn't help us because we can't spot the signal that predicts, say, pancreatic cancer 2 years out until symptoms exist, now we will be able to spot it because we'll actually have learned something new, we'll have done something.
Flick to link, a link to flick.